In this video, I'll guide you through a step-by-step process that will fix your finances and ensure that you can live a well-deserved, happy retirement. The whole process comes down to 3 main steps. The first step is resetting your finances. You have to start anew because whatever you did so far didn't work. And then we will see how to recover your finances. Step 2. This will help you put up the foundation for a new beginning. Step 3 is going to be rebuild your finances. This is what you need to do to increase your income. And step 4 is relaunch your finances. Namely, all the steps you need to take to actually build your retirement savings and make sure to spend a splendid retirement without worries. Alright, the first step is actually resetting your finances. And that's probably the most tedious, but also the most important one, because it means reviewing your expenses and finding out where the leaks are. And believe me, you can earn as much as you want, but if there are bad expenses that are dragging you down, you'll never come out of the hole. For the first phase, you need to have clear where your whole income goes every month. So I want you to do like this. Get a pen and a paper or Excel on your computer if you want, and start by creating 3 columns and call them debts, needs, and wants. And on top, write down your monthly net income. Let's say $4,000 just for the sake of this video. In that, you write, for example, your mortgage payment, let's say $1,200, then maybe your auto loan, $400, credit card debt, $150, and so on with all your debts. In the column need, you're gonna list all the things that you have to pay for, which are necessary and cannot be avoided. And just to be clear, food might be necessary, but dining out isn't. If you rent your flat, here you're gonna have the rent. Then you have utility bills like water, electricity, gas, internet, then basic groceries, transportation, insurance. In the wants column instead, you write everything you buy, but you can live without. It's really important to write every single expense that you have here. And if you don't know every single expense that you have, well, there you go. That's part of the problem. Remember that we're looking for all the leaks and the devil is in the details. In fact, if you don't have savings, it's not because you bought a huge house, but it's probably because of the sum of thousands of small purchases that during your life slowly depleted your money. So I want you to go through your bank statements, your credit card statements. You need to be honest with yourself and find all the typical recurring expenses that you have. Here you're gonna have subscriptions like Amazon Prime, Netflix, cable TV, expenses for phones and computers you bought, shopping, even if it's for your kids or your wife. Then dining out, which is one of the most impactful ways to spend money. And if you're paying the leasing for a car, in my opinion, this is a one because, believe me, said from a person that lived in a humble and modest island, whatever car is more expensive than an old Fiat 500 is a want, not a need. After you have written all your expenses with the amount, it's time to cut what you can and stop the leaks. We're gonna focus now on the wants because paying off debts takes time. So we're gonna talk about this later. Potentially, you could remove all your wants from the equation. It's up to you to evaluate how bad your situation is, but to give you a ballpark, according to Fidelity, at 50, you should have 6 times your annual income saved and invested somewhere. But don't freak out, it's also true that a median American has a net worth of $168,600, which is probably lower. But still, you see that if you're not there yet, you need to take out your wants and be ready to do sacrifices now if you don't want to have a hard time surviving in retirement. So how do you cut expenses? Well, there are 3 ways and you need all of them. One is to completely remove everything that is a want and is not necessary. The second is to replace what's necessary but too expensive with something cheaper. For example, having a car can be necessary depending on where you live. But do you really have to spend $500 every month for a lease? I don't think so. So think about downgrading to a cheaper car or even buying a second-hand one and stop wasting money on a lease. The third is to stop paying for things in installments. They made it really easy for us to buy things we can't really afford with installment plans with 0 interest rates. But believe me, if you can't afford to pay it all in cash right away, you can't afford it at all. Alright, after resetting your finances, we need now to recover them. There are 2 important steps here. You need to get rid of your debts and start setting up an emergency fund. Now, to get rid of your debts, at the beginning, the most impactful way is to remove all unnecessary expenses, which is what you did on step 1. Of course, it might not be enough depending on your debts, and that's why you're also gonna need step 3 and 4 to pay off all of your debts, but we'll see them later. In general, consider that you need to start from the debts with the highest interest rate, which usually are credit card debts, and not with a minimum payment. Instead, please throw on your credit card balance all the money you were saving thanks to step 1 before even thinking about investing or going on holiday. Honestly, if I had a credit card balance with 19% interest rate, before paying it off completely, I wouldn't even be able to buy a coffee without feeling bad. I couldn't live with the thought that they are taking 19% every year out of my bad spent money. So don't start with the smallest debts, start with the ones with the highest interest rate. This is really the only way that makes sense financially. The second important thing you need to do after you've paid off debts with a high interest rate is to build a so-called emergency fund. At least 3 to 6 months of your living costs in cash should be in an easy access account like a high-yield savings account. The emergency fund is there to stop you taking on your debts to deal with a crisis and also to avoid forcing you to sell out investments or retirement plans, which we'll see in step 3. The last point is actually really important because one of the biggest mistakes I've seen is when people have an emergency and they're forced to cash out their retirement accounts to pay for the emergency. And this is maybe better than getting into debt for it, but still not the best solution. Now, I know that building an emergency fund may seem too hard, but I want you to learn an extremely important concept, which is pay yourself first. Pay yourself first means save first and then spend what's left, not the other way around. So remember that your goal must not be, let me first spend what I have and then let's see what's left, but rather, let me put aside right away something for the savings and then let's spend what's left. Now that you did everything you could to reduce your expenses and pay off your debts, you might realize that's actually not enough. So what do you do if removing expenses does not cut it? You increase your income. There are different ways and some of them are harder than others. One thing you should absolutely try is to ask for a raise. I know it may sound obvious, but most people don't even try. Go to your boss and ask for a raise. What do you have to lose? Besides that, I believe that it's never too late to reinvent yourself and learn a new job. Nevertheless, I can imagine that most of you, if you're over 50, have a family and kids, and are not necessarily so eager to take on a risk like changing your career now. Because 1, you're probably gonna earn less at the beginning, and 2, your job will probably be more precarious. So that's why I think you should think about adding a second job. I know this is not a fun proposition, but you really need to cope with reality and start catching up. So if you're an experienced worker, you may use your experience to work as a consultant. Otherwise, you can work a few hours a week on retail or any other job you find comfortable in. If you have rooms available in your house, you might think about Airbnb. It's a great way to make money, and if you want to have an idea of how much you could earn, just Google Airbnb.com, write your city in the search bar, and take a look at what other people offer. Other things you can do on weekends is Uber or making deliveries for Amazon. I know they're not dream jobs, but remember that it's just some extra hours to catch up on your savings. One other thing you can do is sell out what you don't need. You don't have to go minimalistic, but most probably there are things you don't really need which lie around in your home. So just take them and sell them on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, or eBay. But most important than anything, I want to remember that it's never too late. At 50, you have a lot of life and work experience. Just look at the skills and experience you have, even soft skills that you can apply to different jobs. You may need to refresh your CV or interview skills, but there are many opportunities out there that might be right for you. And the last suggestion I want to give you about jobs, well, if all the rest is not enough, remember that you can still work past normal retirement age. I know we are planning to retire earlier, not later, but even just a couple extra years of work may pay for double those years in retirement. Step number 4 is relaunch your finances. And this is what will give you the greatest contribution in the long term. If you don't already have a retirement plan with your employer, you need to start one. A 401k is something that you absolutely need and is one of the best investments you can make because for every dollar that you put into it, up to a certain percentage of your salary, the employer will match up to $1 himself. So you can potentially double your money just like this. So max out your contribution there, which in 2023 for people over 50 years old is $30,000 per year, or at least up to the percentage that your employer will match. And the second thing you absolutely need to have is an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. A good option is a Roth IRA account, which is just a type of retirement account that allows you to invest your money into the stock market and earn tax-free gains with tax-free withdrawals in retirement, which is wonderful. To withdraw tax-free in retirement, by the way, you need to wait until you are at least 59.5 and have owned your account for at least 5 years. You can contribute with no more than $7,500 per year if you're over 50, and I suggest you contribute with everything that you can. Because let's say it, there is nothing better than investing, getting returns, and not being taxed by Uncle Sam for it. But what are you going to invest in? Well, I'm not a financial advisor, so you shouldn't follow my advice, but remember that broad-based index funds or ETFs, which are basically baskets of hundreds of companies that you can buy with as little as $1, on the long term will perform better than a portfolio made of stock picks that you made without great knowledge of the stock market. My favorite ETF is Vanguard S&P 500 ETF, called VOO, which is made up of 500 of the largest public companies in the US. What I can tell you for sure is that you should never gamble your money trying to find the next next hot investment or the next hot growth stock. You're gonna hear a lot of this from the internet, newspaper, but never forget, there is no such thing as the next Amazon that's gonna make you rich and retire happy. Just remember, it's too late now to risk too much, and it's definitely too late to lose it all. But what you can do is subscribe to my channel, and I will share with you everything that I learned, and hopefully it's gonna be helpful for you to make better investment decisions. There is an interesting concept which is the so-called free fund portfolio. There is an investment portfolio that you can easily build with just 3 ETFs with different weights depending on your age. And it's basically guaranteed to give you good results in the long term. This topic deserves a video for itself, so that's why I did a video about it that explains everything you need to know. And I think it's the best solution for you because it's a right mix between stocks and bonds. You will find the link to this video in the description below, or after this video you can just access my channel and search for free fund portfolio in the search bar. You'll find it easily. In general, after you maximize your investment into your 401k and your Roth IRA account, whatever extra money you have that you can invest, you should always invest it in a regular brokerage account. So open one at Schwab, Vanguard, Fidelity, or even an app like Webull or M1 Finance. Choose the one that you prefer, but start investing. Also, when it comes to health insurance, look into any HSA program that your employer might provide. HSAs are like Roth IRAs, except they're also 100% tax deductible, lowering your tax burden. Money grows tax-free and is withdrawn tax-free on qualified medical expenses. In the end, the most important thing is that you look at this from a positive perspective. First of all, because you do have the time to get back on track, so you shouldn't have to worry. And second, because if you do all the right steps that we talked about, you can actually achieve much more than what you need. And in my opinion, it's nice to have more money that you need, but it doesn't necessarily make you happier. If you enjoyed this video, everyone, remember to subscribe to the channel with the subscribe button down here, give me a beautiful like to help me with my work, and I'll see you in the next video.